How's it going, Laser Bruce? Up, Abime Sixkilla, and welcome to the Head as Code demo. Everyone's been waiting for this, the remake of Head as Code, which is the prequel to Birth Me Code. And being that Birth Me Code is the series why many of you are here today, it did bring in a lot of new subscribers. It's been one of the most influential series I've ever done on the channel, as far as growing the channel is concerned, and also as sort of deciding on what the main focus of the channel is going to be. So obviously as soon as this came out, I was ready. This got dropped today as of the day of recording. I'll put a link in the description if you want to go play the demo yourself and you haven't played it yet. Let's just get in. I'm hoping it's going to be like the Birth Me Code demo, where the whole demo was basically the first introductory act of the whole game, where you meet all the characters and all of that sort of jazz. But we'll see what happens. I'm ready. Oh, I'm so ready. I don't think the whole game as a whole is out until next year, so we got a while to wait, but this will keep our appetite satiated until next year. Darkness. More darkness. They say life begins with darkness and ends with darkness. It's probably way more philosophical than my situation was then, because my life had already begun many summers ago, and as far as I was aware, hadn't ended yet. Something else had to have been the cause of this darkness. Clearly, all of this was explained by the fact my eyes were simply closed. I dozed off earlier and now I was waking up. That's all. Something did bother me about that predicament. The surface I was on wasn't a bed. While comfortable, it didn't feel like a bed. My eyes shot wide open at the realization I was on a couch. I slept horribly on couches, which is why I made a point of never doing it if I could avoid it. Man, look at that background art. Something very unusual must have happened for me to consider it. From behind, I spied 3 people. They were discussing something with the utmost urgency. Their tones were hushed, as if they were trying to ensure they couldn't be overheard. Did I have any cause for concern? No, that's too paranoid, even for me. They most likely just didn't want to wake me up. I had a feeling this was the case because one of them was Jasmine, and she had no reason to keep anything from me. We really have to go soon, so I'll keep watch over him if you both decide to go. You don't have to worry. Nothing bad will get through me. Then again, her words implied she was my jailer. I hadn't seen her face to face since maybe 4 years ago now. Truth be told, I miss the times I spent with her before. That's right, she's my childhood friend. Yeah, nothing more. Except now she lived on the other side of the country. Unlike the boy next to her, who was named Marco. Ah, he lived much closer to me. Oh, this is a first for me, because he had released this game earlier, and this is a remake of that game. I never played it at all, so this is completely blind to me. We shared an apartment after all. Once again, we were friends, nothing more. I don't know. Judging by what we've seen of the stuff in this place, do you really think that's safe for either you or him? He was in disagreement with their plan. His words, unlike Jasmine's, eased my mind about my predicament. She was not, in fact, my jailer. Honestly, though, I wouldn't have minded that. Wait, what do you mean by not safe? Where exactly were we? If I was here with Jasmine and him, it couldn't be so bad, but I thought maybe I should ask him. Maybe he'd have some answers for me, since he's pretty smart. Or would he make fun of me by turning it into a joke, like he always did? At least I knew I could depend on him. After all, he's got a master's degree in some weird stuff that sounds like mathematics. I forgot what it was, and obviously it's not that, and I wasn't awake enough to remember it. Instead, I tried to remember what could have brought us here. Were we in the landlord's office? Ah, my head hurt so badly. I had issues remembering anything. Looking around once more, I noticed we were in some kind of bar, or at least there was a counter with some stools. Yeah, that wasn't the landlord's office. The decoration could have used a little touch-up. Oh, I couldn't English there for a second. I was on skip. There was a very strange painting on the wall. It looked like a cross with ominous words around it. It reads, "You don't know what you have till it's gone." A chill ran up my spine as I read the words in my head. This entire place has given me the creeps. Now that I was awake to take it all in. Oh, the little boy woke up. Little boy? I looked at my body only to realize I wasn't little. I was 24. That man though, I didn't know who he was, but he was much bigger than I was. Judging by the grey hair, he was in his 50s perhaps? You're finally awake. That solves our little problem. I hope we didn't wake you up. No, it's okay. I didn't sleep very well. It sure won't beat you the bed you just got last month. And by the way, you still owe me for that, remember? I absent-mindedly nodded, but Jasmine changed the topic. I was thankful for that since I didn't want to be reminded about my debts right now. Never a good time. Anyway, Em and Ray came back from exploring a new area earlier while you were asleep. We should all probably head out and find a new place too. Some words she said didn't make sense. Em and Ray? I had to assume Marco was M and this guy was Ray, but why call Marco M? I was very lost, so I simply nodded, masking my confusion. Yeah, a new place after heading out. Makes sense. Part of me wanted to believe this was a weird dream. That was probably the cowardly part of me. The same part was also telling me not to let them know I wasn't up to date with the recent events. Unfortunately, where others might have quieted that part, I listened to it. I always listen to it. It might have been a little on the nose to admit to myself how cowardly I was, but if there was one thing I couldn't hide from, it was that. I knew I was a coward, even if I didn't look the part. Yeah, we didn't find anything new. Makes me wonder if all this is just some kind of waste of time. We still don't have a single clue to the whereabouts of that 9th person. Whatever. The sooner we explore more, the sooner we'll be out of here. I'll take the punk with me again, and you can go with your girlfriend. That good for you? Girlfriend? Wait. I didn't know what happened before I slept, but I mean, I was not really opposed to it either because she's cute and... What was I thinking? That man got me flustered there for a moment. It'd be far too embarrassing to reveal that. I did have feelings for her. Kind of. Maybe. Oh, I actually was embarrassed. Shit, there was no hiding it anymore now. I felt like an embarrassed, clueless teenager. Get a grip, Simon. Psh. I had to say something before my cheeks got any redder. Oh, it's hot in here. Whew. She's not... It's not like that at all. Are you letting his teasing get to you this much? Let's just take the train and go to a new station already. Unless you want to stick around here for a little bit. I took a sidelong glance at her and noticed she looked as rosy as I was. I didn't think it was fair for her to blame me if she was also embarrassed. Marco stayed quiet, apparently thinking about doing something horrible. I felt an incredible need to leave before he opened his big mouth again. Thankfully, I was saved by the imposing man. Cursed and saved by the same man in the span of 2 minutes. That ought to be some kind of record. Whatever. Listen. I'll go ahead, and when you're all done here, send the punk to me. Don't take too long. I hate wasting time, and I hate waiting even more. He seems like a lovely, laughable, jolly old chap. Ray left the lounging area. In the distance, I could hear the noise of his steps getting fainter and fainter. Some creaking revealed he was going down a flight of stairs. This Ray person didn't seem too friendly, so I took my mind off him by turning my attention back to Jasmine and Marco. The latter was a little deflated by what I assumed was Ray calling him punk over and over. Yeah, can't wait for that. Sounds amazing. Woo. Hey, J and S, you sure you want to head out together? Either of you care to mix it up a little? Jasmine categorically shook her head. Nope. Well, I'll go wait down there too anyway. I'll take the side he didn't go to. When you're done, come down there, okay? And just like that, after a brief wave, she was gone too, leaving me with Marco. He looked back at me, uncertain of how to proceed. Don't make her wait too long. But we probably have a minute. I don't want to make Ray wait too long for sure. You heard him, right? That guy could destroy me with a well-placed punch. That would at least give me enough time to talk to Marco a little, if I wanted to die due to a horrible joke or two. Or I guess I could also head out and join Jasmine right away. Active searches? Go on then. Tutorial me. Sometimes there'll be moments for you to decide the order in which events happen. These numerous interactive segments will be called active searches, or AS for short. By making choices during these segments, you can have Simon look at some things. You can also choose to talk to characters and get their input when available. These special choice icons will appear for those moments. The look icon will never progress the story, it is only used for supplementary information. However, you may need to select it to find a talk or use icon to progress. Both the talk and use icons are used to progress the story in different ways. The talk icon will be necessary when talking to a character and to trigger dialogue. The use icon will do what it says, it will use the object in question. Note how the talk icon does not necessarily progress the story, but use will always do that. Okay, once you've selected anything in this playthrough, the game will save it. On a subsequent playthrough, they will show up as this to let you know you've already selected them. Oh, that's nice. Note that you may have to reselect some of them to progress, even if they show up as done. This is only an indication that you've read the text or at least once before. I like it. For this first as, it's not complicated as there are only two options. You can either talk to Marco, or look at and then use the stairs, which will continue the story. Most of them will have something to let you bypass them if you wish to merely skip them. However, you may miss bits of extra information if you choose to ignore these segments. They're mostly optional, so you don't lose too much if you wish to skip them. With one exception, when someone is within an escape room, the active searches are obligatory. Do you want to go through this tutorial again? You bet I do, I love repeating tutorials. No, we're good. Well, of course we're going to look. If I left the area now, I wouldn't get the chance to talk to Marco for the time being. I didn't think he'd mind either way. Talk to me. Hey, M? I keep telling you, Marco's fine when no one's around, Simon. Apparently, we're just using these nicknames in lieu of our real names, so we don't, honestly, I don't know. Jay came up with that. I'm just glad nobody here has a name that starts with the same letter as mine, or it'd be terribly awkward. Yeah. That wasn't too smart. On the other hand, it could also be sweet. You know, like M&M. I shook my head. No, I didn't know, and I didn't want to know. Everything he touches turns into a joke. Kinda like Midas, who had the power to turn anything he touched to gold. I didn't want to be turned into a joke myself, so I saluted to part from him. Yeah, I should head out too. Ray will get mad. I wonder why he was named Ray and not something like R. But that would be like admitting I was a lost little lamb, and that's really not cool. The last thing I wanted to do was give him even more ammo for his stupid jokes. Since Marco went back to hanging around in silence, I left him be. It wouldn't be a good idea for me to postpone joining Jasmine down the stairs, so I moved as if to leave the place. I'll see you later then. Remember, you owe me a pizza every week for the next 6 months. I'm not going to let go of it this time. Marco's words reminded me of something. I focused on that while grumbling some farewells back at him. From my uniform side pocket, I pulled out a cap, which I nervously adjusted back onto my head. I kept it stashed away whenever I could, but right now, it might give me some courage. My boss wasn't here, thank God. If he saw me without the cap on, he'd probably give me a truckload of swears. Normally I hated wearing the damn thing. And here, it was kind of comforting. At least a little. It was comforting because it was one of the few things that felt normal. I went down a flight of stairs, on the opposite side to the one Ray took earlier. There was some kind of little lobby between the stairs and what was beyond. Stepping outside, I found myself in the last area I'd have thought I'd emerge into. It was in the metro. It was the underground train station connecting sections of Montreal together through multiple coloured lines. The more I looked around the station, the more this didn't make any sense to me. I gave up trying to understand exactly where the hell I was, because no matter what station this was, I knew for a fact that none of them had a spacious bar upstairs. At least, there was no open bar like that, directly after taking the first flight of stairs. It didn't make any sense. Jasmine came out of nowhere, having patiently waited for me down here. Earlier the others said they went out to the infirmary, so we're probably going past that now. Guess we got some time to kill before the train arrives, huh? Straight to the point, not even a hello. I assumed this place didn't really have her in a jolly mood. I was completely lost, so I just nodded. However, I had a feeling Jasmine had picked up on my confusion. Taking a glance to the other side of the station, I saw Marco and Ray in the distance. Well, like she said, we had some time to kill before the train arrived. I was curious about the place, so I could either look at stuff or talk to her. I'll probably need to talk to her sooner or later, so it's just a question of when. Funny, I didn't remember the walls being like that in any station I'd seen. I hadn't visited all of them though, so maybe that's just how this station was. Station walls certainly varied widely depending on where you were at. Some of them had brick walls, while others were tiled. Some were pristine, some were decorated with graffiti. Some of them were featureless, and some of them had ads all over the place. Most of them did, to be fair. There was the open doorway we used to access the metro, too. The door was thick and heavy looking. It was a sliding door, so from here it looked like a solid block of metal embedded inside the wall. That wasn't the last time I came in here. All the screens used to be suspended, but this one was mounted on the wall, with 4 mega large screws behind it. Currently it was powered off. Well, that TV was bigger than any I'd ever seen. Clearly it must have cost a fortune. Marco would lose his mind if I bought something like that back home. Especially as it would be considered theft. On second thought, it'd be best not to mess with it. Danger, staff only. That's what it said. That little maintenance hall was shrouded in darkness. That's where the staff usually went to fix all the subway's problems, whenever it had any. Unless we had some sort of key, we wouldn't get back there. Only maintenance dudes were allowed to go in, so I had no idea what was inside. It was too dark in there. I could barely make out some kind of weird metallic gate. If Jasmine wasn't going in, then I assumed it was locked, and searching it wouldn't help me in the least. Next to the little maintenance hall was a yellow stripe on the ground, which stretched across the entire border of the station. If I stepped beyond it, I'd fall down onto the rails. Those are the rails used to guide the trains around. They're pretty dangerous. A sign next to them said 750 volts. Yikes. If I touched that, it would kill me for sure. You've been acting a bit lost. Are you sure you're okay there? I didn't really know how to tell her. On one hand, I didn't want her to find out I had no clue about what was going on, when they all clearly did. It would make me look like I didn't have all my stuff together. On the other hand, I was at a severe disadvantage not understanding. Well, see, it's like that. I'm a little lost right now, to put simply. Like, I just woke up, but I have no idea how I even got here. Luckily for me, Jasmine was a kind person who always had my back, and she listened. Finally understanding what nagged at me, she began explaining in vague terms. I think I know what you have right now, and it sounds like amnesia to me. It's probably super dangerous if I go too fast, due to how memories are like locked right now or something. I'll just take it slowly then, assuming it's temporary. I guess I can explain the minimum to you, just so you know and understand enough at least. If you say so. I don't really know much about amnesia, but I still want to know what's going on. Where is this place? Who's Ray? Jasmine nodded comprehensively. We proceeded to move to a more open area of the station, so she could tell me everything while we waited for the train. Alright, so listen closely here. You must have noticed we're in the metro, and, you know, this is a place that links all of Montreal together. I honestly don't know who Ray is, so I'll talk about what I know. There are 5 color-themed lines, but you already know all this. What's really important is the fact that we're all stuck here. There's no way out. We already tried to force doors open. No dice. Instead, as some weirdo with a mask told us, we had to play some kind of game. I felt a shiver run up my spine at that. This felt a little like one of those escape the room new age reality games, except for the fact that we're clearly not paying to be entertained here. Most of all though, this place is really dangerous because if we disobey the rules, well, we're going to die. Though I guess that weird man said it like, we'll get punished, but he did explain what that entailed. I swallowed. She had to be joking. Surely it wasn't real and someone was just toying around with us. It was then that I noticed the collar Jasmine was wearing around her neck. Come to think of it, Marco and Ray had also been wearing a collar like that, hadn't they? I didn't even need to check my own neck. I could feel one there too. I decided against touching it. It seemed dangerous somehow. We have to find someone with the number 9 to leave. So far, we aren't finding anything, no matter how much we explore. They're supposed to go to each station in a pair, you see, because I waited for her to continue. But it took a while, and as the seconds passed, I could tell she was trying to... It felt like she was trying to stop herself from giggling. Because this is the dating game. We're playing the dating game. Pretty much all my fears left at this moment, and instead I was staring at her with the same irresistible desire to laugh. What the hell, the dating game? We're definitely being toyed with here, that's what I think. No. Just as suddenly as the moon shifted to something lighter, it reverted to something rather uncomfortable, as Jasmine stared at me, no longer amused. With the most serious tone in the world, she completed her thought. As ridiculous as the name is, someone might have died already. A glacial feeling spread through me from my feet, crawling upward along my legs to latch onto my back. It was tightening my stomach, creating a knot in my throat. Wait, might? There's no way. That's a joke, isn't it? And besides, might? So you aren't sure? Jasmine looked at me as seriously as she could ever be. It's not a joke, and about the uncertainty? It's complicated. But if what I saw was real, someone really died. So as funny as the name is, this is real. Don't start getting complacent on me. This is dangerous, so don't do anything to put yourself in danger. Okay? She looked discouraged at this point. Before she spoke more, a train arrived at our platform. I waited for a few seconds, looking at Jasmine, who looked back at me. Then I looked at the train again. The Data Gamer. That was a stupid name. And yet, as she walked forward and tugged me into the train, there was no avoiding it. I was going on a date with Jasmine then. A date that could very well kill me. I had absolutely no clue where we were going. I was having issues thinking about it due to, well, everything else. The situation was still alien? One thing was for sure, all I'd been told was making me feel nauseous. Yet, for all it was, I couldn't sit down. Normally I would have. I just needed to do something in this familiar yet unfamiliar place. Hello? A 3-step ding-dong echoed, signaling the train was leaving the station. When it took off, I reflexively grabbed onto one of the beams for support. Crap. Those things are full of germs. That's why I usually sat down. I had to wash my hands soon. I think you got more things to worry about right now. Pro-chain station. Security. At least that was familiar. It was the announcer speaking as a lady's voice, whose entire job had been to record public service announcements for those who use the metro lines. They were in French because we're in Montreal, of course. Translated literally, it just said, it's just next station, with the name of the station. However, the station wasn't named correctly. The messages must have been changed, but why? Did they want to make it clear what we'd find at each station? Or were they worried about copyright? Nah, it couldn't be that stupid. Since we had some time, I decided to strike up some conversation with Jasmine. The current situation? According to the name of the dating game, we're going on a date. Wait, what was I thinking? A date? In here? Once again, the feeling of nausea overcame me. Why wasn't I happy about that? It must have been because... yes, it was a date, but considering the colours, the eeriness of the location and everything else, it didn't feel like one. I was just thinking how all of this is so weird. I still can't wrap my head around it. We're not really in the metro, are we? Well, so far it looks like we are. Whoever that smiley guy is, he seems able to remodel the stations on his own. I can't believe that. Smiley guy? I had to ask her about him. What about that guy then? Oh, he's kind of the mastermind behind all this, I guess? He looked really weird, like some kind of cultist. Whatever we're in, it's not good. I mentally agreed. How did I even get into this mess anyway? I didn't remember pissing off anyone important. I was just a guy who studied artistic stuff. Had I delivered the wrong pizza to the wrong person? No, even that didn't make sense. She mentioned a cultist just now. Had I angered some kind of cult then? The chances of not only me, but also Jasmine and Marco having done it was slim. There was no way it had anything to do with Ray, was there? He was big and menacing. He had a physique that could let him move heavy objects around. If someone could have done all this, then that person had to be strong, or they had a lot of help. The train stopped at a station. Seeing as Jasmine wasn't moving to leave, I didn't either. I had to follow her lead, at least until I understood my predicament better. Instead, I took a seat on one of the various colourful benches scattered around. The last thing I wanted to happen was her to think I was useless. I needed to rest, to be in shape. But I'd already rested on that couch, no? Unless I was carried there. Hey, what are you thinking about? I don't know. Pro-chain station, laboratory. Laboratory? I don't know French. The announcer cut her off rather rudely as the train set off again. I don't know. If anything's the matter, you can tell me. We're in this together. She flashed a smile. Yeah, she was dependable to a fault. The current year? Just making sure, we're still in 2022, right? Of course. What, did you forget that too? Or are you just making sure you didn't leave the stove on for 7 months? No, I remember everything normal, like your name, your occupation, my own name. I just forgot what we're doing here. Just making sure things are still normal, you know? Short-term memory loss then, I see. It's not really that bad of a case of amnesia then. But yes, we're in 2022. The year where nothing goes right. Isn't every year like that anyway? I thought back to 2020, with the large-scale virus outbreak we lived through. The same year also had tons of riots over injustice and racism. And in 2021 was... don't even mention it. I don't know. I think it's looking up now. I'm just joking. At least nothing major happened yet. There was no virus outbreak this year. Or terrorist attacks, or crimes committed by teens. No school shooting that I can tell. And also, they restocked my favourite limited brand of pizza. I had to change the subject before we got onto the topic of pizza. Before I could do anything else, we arrived at the laboratory. Jasmine shook her head when I rose up to my feet. This one's already done, so we don't need to go here. And the next one? That's the one some of the others chose to go to. Oh right, you don't know about them. I don't mean Em and Ray. We're 8 here in total. There was something that didn't feel right somehow. The amount of people was 8, but it wasn't what was nagging at me. What was nagging at me was the train's trajectory. What do you mean? Are we driving sideways? Infirmary. I had to ask her about it, but first I wanted to catch up with her some more. It was, for all I knew, the only opportunity I might have to do so in here. Simon's mental health, I guess I'll do that one. So, how are you feeling now that we're in the train? It seems like this whole thing has taken a big toll on you, isn't it? I felt tired and slightly ill, and a headache was creeping up on me. With her trained eye, she could easily see that. It was the eye of an artist, because she was a graphics designer. Yeah, wherever we'll be going, I hope you don't mind if I rest there a bit. If there's anywhere to rest in it. A vague memory came back up to me. I'd been in this train with Jasmine and Marco before. Right, I was taking it. To go somewhere. To go home? Was it? Thinking about it too much was making my head hurt, but I gave it a real effort. Something about going home with the train and... I remembered. Ugh. Okay, no. No remembering. The pain was too much. My head was telling me no, I couldn't do that. Honestly, I wasn't about to argue with it. If you want, I can take care of what we'll have to do there by myself. No, it's okay. I just need to sit down a little, probably. Not for too long, though. I really didn't want to look useless. Not with her. I genuinely wanted to make her think well of me, and this whole thing was just one big obstacle to overcome. I brought everything back to my earlier thought, deciding that was enough for now. My available time before the train arrived at our destination was getting shorter and shorter. So, couldn't we just ride the train all the way to the end? No, it's impossible because the train seems to stop at a station we haven't cleared, and it doesn't move then. In short, when it stops and doesn't go off again, a group of 2 must leave the train. The next one's taken already. After that is ours. That was simple enough. She really knew everything that was going on, huh? I was about to confront her about that, but since it might give me an idea for how long this whole thing had been going on for, but the train arrived at the station. I expected it to go off again, but this time... But contrary to what she said, the next station was not our stop. The train didn't move to leave. I had a bad feeling about this. Seeing as this is apparently our destination though, we both left the train momentarily. Huh. Looks like the station is actually free to explore? Is that a problem? Now that I asked, I remember what she said earlier about the others. She took the lead, stepping further ahead of me, closer to the doorframe. Yeah, that's really weird because the others went here. 2 of them did, an older guy and some really weird girl with a mask and headphones. Hey, anybody here? Jasmine called out in the station, but there was no reply. My stomach tightened as a flash of a thought went through my head. Jasmine said, "Someone died already." Could it be... Did the others also... No, no way. They'd be fine too. For sure. I shook my head to get out of that stupor. Looks like there's no one, so... The train had already gone, and the only way back was to cross the rails to take a train from the other side. But the rails are definitely too dangerous to cross. Giving a glance over there, I noticed it. The indication. 750 volts. That's the voltage going through those rails at all times. If we touched them, we were toast. Not to mention, crossing was dangerous because... What if a train was coming? The much safer alternative was to go up the stairs, cross to the other side using the station above and come back down there. I was going to suggest it, but Jasmine had things to tell me. Looks like this is where we're going. I could have sworn the others were here, but the door is open, which means they either solved this place already, or they didn't come here at all. And if they solved this place, then the train should have left earlier with us inside. Which means this is ours to deal with. Do you feel okay now? Yeah, I can handle myself. Okay, good. Upstairs, we're gonna have to solve some stuff. All the places here are kind of like escape rooms. You know what those are, right? Yep. I'll take care of most of it since you're still, you know, not entirely caught up. But I might need help. Sure. Hey, how do I ask this? There's no time limit or anything, right? Nope. We could take a week and we'd be fine. But we might need to eat and drink. So I guess our time limit is our biological functions. So you know a lot about this place, Jazz. I changed the topic for something that had been bothering me. She looked at me with a smile and a wink. Oh, I'm just perceptive, that's all. And besides, it's been a few stations already, so I'm getting the hang of it. Though you should probably call me Jay here, so people don't figure out our names. I don't know how much Smiley can hear us here. I don't want to leave him anything compromising if he just looked at us at random. Right, okay. We should probably go now. She agreed and walked to the open staircase. I followed along, though when I entered I stopped there for a bit. There was a good reason for that. The staircase was the same as the lounge, but when I entered, the door had closed behind me. It shut off our way back out. I took a glance over towards Jasmine, but she'd already gone up the stairs. Hey, come up here too. Yeah, coming. Well, we didn't have a time limit. I couldn't stay down here and be left behind. Once again, the thought that I didn't want to appear useless came over me. That's right. I had to join her in the search of this place. With only one way to go forward, I took the stairs. Alright, are we doing a puzzle, are we? Arriving at the top, I saw what she meant much earlier. I remember the station as being a completely different station. Inside, it was actually an infirmary. I was a little surprised by that. Perhaps I hadn't believed what the announcer told us before? Oh, there you are. This room has a lot of weird stuff. It's not weird, Jay. You haven't been in an infirmary before, have you? I don't think so, no. I already searched those drawers over there. I remembered that I needed to wash my hands. After touching stuff in the train, I really needed a good rinse. There's a sink next to the counter, so I made a beeline for it. You know what? That makes sense. I should clean my hands too. You didn't? That's definitely a sin in one of our existing religions, I'm sure. Hey, hold up. I was going to do so. Now that you reminded me of it, I'm not a heathen or anything. You better repent. That's right. I just meant to tease her, but I didn't know if she took it that way. Not too far. There was some sort of bed. You look comfortable. Hey, you don't mind if I take a nap, right? I'll be quick, just a few minutes. Not really. I'll go search elsewhere in this place for a while and come back here later. I'll holler if something's wrong. Like if some slime monsters crawl out of the sink, now that I woke it up by running the faucet. Oh, that's just ridiculous now. And yet she moved away. Did I finally get back at her? I didn't know. But one thing I knew, this bed was gonna give me a good nap. Maybe that's why I didn't sleep on couches too. No matter how comfortable they were, when I woke up I always felt like shit. Don't we all? That rest was just what I needed. Now lying on the bed, I closed my eyes and drifted off. But the more I tried to sleep, the more I couldn't. This bed was remarkably uncomfortable. I didn't notice until I was on it, but it was kind of hard. Like if it had seen countless use and hardened with time. It's probably used for short examinations. Go figure. We're in an infirmary, not a luxurious hotel suite. I rose back up while grumbling some profanities. All in all, the entire process had taken a few minutes. I wonder what Jasmine was doing now, but since she wasn't around, I didn't feel the need to call for her yet. Wait, maybe if I searched around, that might be helpful. Yeah. This is a fairly spacious room after all. Jasmine wouldn't have to do everything by herself. And then she'd be grateful, and it would be a successful date. Heh, that's probably just wishful thinking. I didn't think I could ever get to her level. Slapping my cheeks with both hands, I woke myself up. Alright Simon, now's the time. It's time to search the shit out of this place, and then call for her when I found something cool. Alright, here we go. It's, that's really cool, by the way. It's puzzle time. It's just a sink with cleaning supplies underneath it. Nothing worth noting. Okay, it was still just a sink. At least it was new text. This bed was a bad bed. That was really all I had to say about it. This handrail had some screws. I wondered if I could somehow take them off. They're going away. It even worked correctly. Both faucets made water flow, but it was still a sink and nothing else. It was so shiny though. I could see my face reflected in the sink. This is a marvelous sink. I was lost in my own image. Time passed and I didn't feel it. All I could see was the sink. All there was in this world was the sink. Praise be to the sink. Wait, what the hell? For a moment I felt like my existence was slipping away. One of God's commandments was not to worship false deities. In that moment I decided to take that advice and get back to the search. Damn it, I love that sink. This poster was made of crude drawings depicting weird things about the eye and the brain. It was written in a language I didn't understand. Or maybe it's just too complicated for me. Whoever drew this had no artistic talent whatsoever. Burn. Ruthless. This fan was turned off, making the room a little hotter than it should have been. I could have thought up something cheesy like, it's hotter because Jasmine was here, but I didn't, except you just did. Wait, damn. I thought it up on the end since I had to think of it to point out that I didn't. Yeah. Even if I could take off the grating and the blades, which I couldn't, I wouldn't fit in there. Neither would Jasmine, most likely as a result of all the cake she loved to eat so much. Someday I need to tell her to lay off eating more, since it just made her butt bigger. I figured some people might think that's a good thing, but her health's on the line here. 3 shelves were mounted above the surface of the counter. I didn't know if anything on them would be useful. There were some glasses, a radio for some reason, pill bottles, a box, nothing I could really combine or use in any way. This escape room sucked. Even if we weren't timed, I still felt as though I wasted some time with this side. Also, it made me wonder about the purpose to all this. If this is called a dating game, why would they put us in a room that encouraged us to split up? Wouldn't the idea be that we'd cooperate by doing something together? I shook my head. Back to the search. This cupboard was locked. No, wait. Only one of the doors was locked. The other opened after I finagled it a little bit. Inside was just a coin, nothing big. The coin itself was a little bigger than a $2 coin. On it was a large engraved 8. Was it worth $8? No way. Coins are worth up to 2, not 8. Still, it seemed useful for something or other. So I pocketed it. Oh yeah, I thought we could take the screws off with it, right? Aha! The 8 coin I found earlier unscrewed the screws, preventing me from getting screwed out of whatever it had. Inside one of the ends was a small USB stick. This is like the room that you start in VLR. You have to get a coin to unscrew the thing on the... anyway, it was probably safe to call Jasmine over since I'd found something important. I could also take a look around the room some more, if I really wanted. I just want to look at this one again. I wonder why this is called a cupboard. Was it because people first put cups inside of them? But that's not a board, that's a box. Wouldn't it be better to call them cup boxes? The surface of the counter was so shiny. It had to be cleaned with the utmost precision. Too bad there was nothing else of interest here. Is our guy like some kind of germaphobe or something? I feel like he might be. Hey Jay, how fareth thine searcheth? I heard some rustling from a nearby area. Soon enough, Jasmine wandered back into the section, clutching a key in her hand. Clutching her hand at a key, sorry. Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? I hold in mine grasp an object of value, with which thine heart I may unlock so. Hey, whoa, you're Jasmine, not Juliet. With her fist pushed onto her hips, looking annoyed, she stared at me like I just ruined a joke. Remember what I said about the nicknames? Oh shit, she was right. Okay, you're Jay, not Jay. Get it? Because they begin the same way. And you're not Romeo at all either. I bet he'd have swept me right off my feet. I cleared my throat while she moved again, this time looking for something on one of the cupboard doors. Perhaps I could have swept her off her feet, but only in the metaphorical sense. Looking for something? I just finished looking around this place. Yeah, lock. I think I found it. And she inserted the key into it. Turning it, she opened the cupboard, taking out a strange tablet. She looked behind it. There's something here. I could probably get it by breaking this thing in half, but we might need it later. Oh, it's got a touch screen. I wonder if... I touched it, but it didn't light up. Jasmine and I examined the side and figured it needed the USB stick I found on the wall. After plugging it in, I tried my earlier maneuver again. The screen lit up at the contact, surprising Jasmine. Oh yeah, it's opening, but the slot in the back didn't though. Only the electronics are booting up. Damn. A pretty lady as thou shouldn't uttereth these vile vociferations? Haven't seen that one before. You know, adding TH at the end of a word doesn't automatically make it correct Old English. Yeah. She completely disregarded the rest of what I said. Keep your eyes on the prize, yes? I couldn't see what she was staring at, since she had the screen of the tablet aimed at herself. From what I could see from her expression, she was very puzzled. What is it? It's kind of like a puzzle, I guess. I can't make heads or tails of it. There are 3 numbers. 2 of them aren't set in the middle, and the middle one is static. In the middle is the number 9, and both numbers on the sides have an arrow pointing toward it. I can change the numbers on the sides, but not the middle one. I thought I had to make the number 9 by combining 2 different numbers, but that's wrong. Do you think we absolutely have to do it? We probably have to. The rooms have these silly puzzles sometimes. What's inside the tablet will probably help us. Maybe we'll even get the code for the keypads leading back out. She tried again and again, but only got frustrated with it. Have a shot at it if you want. I don't, but I will. She left the tablet on the counter and stormed off. Maybe deep inside she had the same worry as me about looking useless. I plucked at the tablet and looked at it. There were 3 numbers which reminded me of an analog clock, but other than that, there was another detail that was weird. The leftmost number was blue, the rightmost number was red, and the one in the middle was just kind of weird. The upper, middle, bottom, and lower right lines were purple, while the others were blue and red too. Oh, the things on the counter, right? Are blue and red. It's got she totally didn't mention that. Maybe she thought it wasn't important. I could tell the middle number was 9 though. I tried the same thing she did, no dice. Surely the colours were important then. Oh. The areas were purple because it was blue laid over red. So that meant the numbers I had to enter were 5 and 3 for blue and red respectively. Bingo. It worked. Hey Jay, come back. Look, it's working. It's opening. She came back just as I opened the back slot. Inside was a piece of paper with a bunch of incomprehensible scribbles. Oh, that's exactly what I needed. Something stumped me over there too. Give me that. Without waiting for any sort of objection, she snatched it from me. I set the tablet aside now that it had, apparently, done what it was meant to do. I'll be right back. I think we're almost out of here. I patiently waited. After I took a seat and several moments passed, Jasmine came back wearing a bright and brimming smile. Yep. The whole thing is open now. The whole thing? I unlocked all the doors. I also found something else. Some kind of remote with no purpose here. But, it's the kind of thing I think we should share with the others, so I'll show you at the lounge. Alright, if you say so. I set off toward the set of doors, but Jasmine stopped me with a hand around my wrist. Wait, before we leave, I have to show you something. I would wait until your amnesia's gone, but it's kind of really important, so I can't leave it up to chance. She looked fairly worried. I had no choice, and my curiosity was piqued anyway. She led me to a room that was previously been locked off. It was somewhat featureless, except for the clear indicators that this was a one-way deal. Or perhaps it was just supposed to tell us to stop? I was about to walk in when Jasmine shook her head, keeping a tight hold on my arm. See these scanners? Apparently they check if we have the 9th person with us. That's who we're trying to find, by the way. We need to find the 9th person to leave. Otherwise... Jasmine dragged her finger across her neck, an emotion that left little to the imagination. Yeah, okay, I get you. But what now then, if this isn't where we have to go? Now, we're going back to the lounge. See, we can't go through these stations with more than 2 people at once, but we can for the lounge. It's a bit like our base of operations. More information. My head hurt again, as if trying to remember something. Seeing as she was walking again, I followed after her. We went back down the stairs, but this time we were on the other side of the station below. The reason was simple. We're going back, not forward. It took very little time and the train arrived. We boarded it in silence. Even if I could tell, Jasmine looked at me from time to time, worried over my amnesia. This time, she didn't say a word though. It's just like she said. If all my memories came back at once, it would be pretty painful, especially if I'd built new ones. It was better not to force it. Just like before, the train drove through each station. Just like before, the train opened its doors at a station, waited a little, then closed them again to resume its movements. The cycle repeated a few times until we arrived all the way back at the lounge. As the announcer had said its name, I now knew this was the leisure or lounge station, which according to Jasmine, replaced the one at the centre between all the coloured lines. Most of them at least. I still couldn't wrap my head around how this huge, sprawling, very populated station could be a lounge now. Did Smiley pull some strings so nobody would be allowed to use the metro at all during this day? Or maybe this is happening during the night, since every day the metro stopped running for a couple of hours for maintenance. No, they'd still need to renovate this whole place. Time to go. Jasmine's words took me out of my thoughts, and I left the train alongside her. If we didn't leave now, it would drive off again. I hope the others came back too. If not, well, we'll just have to figure out what we'll do then. We'll have the lounge just for ourselves. Let's go. I wasn't sure if that was good or bad. I mean, of course it was good. It was really great, even, but... it had been 4 years since I saw her. Being with her like this made me feel lightheaded. If it wasn't for this weird staircase, if it wasn't for the infirmary, if it wasn't for the lounge, if it wasn't for all those weird things, it would just be us walking together, taking the train, going to places and hanging out. But this headache was growing worse and worse. It was probably on the cusp of remembering something about this situation. I held my forehead with a hand. There was no hiding it from Jasmine. She came by me with a big smile on her face. She meant to be reassuring, but I could tell she was a little worried too. Still, it was the thought that was important. No one here. At any rate, I'll go back downstairs and wait for them. Go ahead and have a real lie down this time if you want. No one's gonna bother you. They won't get through me. Once again, she flashed me a smile. Once again, I was putty in her hands. Oh, Jasmine. I awkwardly rubbed the back of my head, embarrassed that I had to rely on other people so much. The most cowardly part about this was how I wanted her to stay here too. But I couldn't bring myself to ask her, and I instead went with what she suggested. This is probably why I was still single, always running away, always uncertain about what I'd wanted to do. This job I had, these studies I went through, they were all because I wasn't sure. I took up artistic studies because Jasmine went for them. I studied with her abroad because she decided to do it, and I didn't want to let her go alone. I didn't want to let go of her. When she finished and decided to start working, I moved back and studied more, frozen in my indecision. I couldn't go with the kind of job she was doing. I hadn't been convinced it was correct back then, and that it caused me to let go of her completely as I moved back to Montreal from Vancouver. Because I couldn't move forward. It cost me Jasmine 4 years ago. Of course, now I regret everything, and now, at least, she was right here. I could finally right the wrongs of my past. Well, okay then. I'll see you in a bit. Once all was said and done, she left the area and I was free to snore away. That was what I would have liked to happen at least, but the muffled sound I heard coming from the station wouldn't allow it. I fell off the couch I'd been sitting on and scrambled to my feet in panic. What was that noise? It was a little like... kind of reminded me of... a gunshot. I had a sudden thought for Jasmine. She was downstairs, right? Quickly, I went there, running down the stairs faster than I'd ever done. I almost tripped on the way. I looked out the open doorway, and a train was driving away. I only just caught a glimpse of someone inside it, but I couldn't tell who it was. All I saw was a flash of cyan. Whoever that person was, they had fired a shot. Was it a warning shot? Or something worse? My mind was swimming with awful possible scenarios. I mentally cursed myself. No, I couldn't imagine the worst until I'd seen it. Until then, it wasn't the worst. Life has a way of robbing you of hope, the moment you think you have it. That does not sound good. Once the train drove off, I could see something odd. Something that didn't belong. Out from the darkness of the little passage, I saw a pair of legs. Purple tights. Those were purple tights. Jasmine? No answer. At this point, I cared little for the letter nicknames. Jazz? Is that you? Someone was here. Still no answer. At first, I thought it would suck if Jasmine had been the one who fired the gun. But that meant maybe she could have been on the train. Maybe she would have been fine. Then again, maybe she was... A part of me thought perhaps she just knocked herself out by dodging the shot, or maybe she was playing dead until the gun wielder had gone. I couldn't be sure until I took a closer look. It took all my will to gather up my courage for this, to look reality in the face. Jasmine? Answer me already. I shakily approached her, and then I knelt down in the dark area to stare down at her and see for myself how she was. She'd be okay, right? Just as quickly, I stumbled backwards until my body hit the large screen. I fell over in surprise, only to get back up, unable to believe it. That sight, that grim fucking sight, was unmistakable. Now I was confronted with the worst scenario I imagined. Jasmine, you're... She was dead. She was dead. Jasmine, the bright, vivacious girl I'd known since childhood, was dead. Both of my hands held my face in the shock of the moment. I couldn't scream. I tried, but nothing would come out. The realization was far harsher than I could have ever imagined. I didn't want to face the truth anymore. A lie was better. I wanted to run away, but I was frozen there. I just couldn't move, even if deep inside I wanted to run away from this reality. What I was seeing was real, right? Jasmine was dead. Jasmine was dead, and I wouldn't see her again. Jasmine was dead, and I wouldn't hear her speak again. To top it all off, her killer was on the loose. I kept repeating it in my head. I couldn't believe it. I finally moved, but it was all pointless. I balled my hands into fists, then relaxed them. I was trembling, and I had no tears. No matter how much I tried to cry, I just couldn't shed a single one. I was in shock, unable to breathe. I was too horrified by the truth. Terrified by it, so terrified. A coward through and through. At that moment, I remembered she mentioned something about a remote, but there'd been nothing like that on her when I checked her. Had it been taken by the person who had shot her square in the head? Was that the reason behind her murder, that stupid remote? I had no clue what was going on. I couldn't even fathom what happened. Perhaps due to my amnesia, I'd forgotten something important. I'd forgotten who the culprit might have been. Important clues. I needed to remember them. Maybe things would be clearer when I got my memory back, and maybe Jasmine wouldn't be dead. And maybe this was just a nightmare, and maybe... It said, you don't know what you have till it's gone. I felt a chill run up my spine because that message had been aimed at me. No wonder the words had felt so ominous earlier, but if I remembered, maybe I could figure it out and make them pay. Would that bring her back? No, but... All of a sudden, as I contemplated those words, an earthquake took place, shaking the room. I quickly lost my footing. Ugh! What's happening? What the hell? I managed to catch myself as I fell, only to roll over, under the continued movement. I slammed into a wall and gave a small scream of pain. Perhaps as a result of the shock, and the hit on my head. That was what triggered my memory to come back. It all came back at once, leaving me breathless for several moments. All of this began right here, in the metro. The demo is ended, but the mystery remains. Will we be able to solve them, or will Simon fall in eternal hell? Prisoner of this fate? Phew, rough. Who killed Jasmine and why? Who or what is Smiley? What is the dating game? Find the answers in the full version of Head as Code. Well, that was pretty great. I'm wondering if that is the first act, or... Because it seemed like it was taking place near the end, but maybe it takes place near the end and then goes back to the start. as he remembers and you play through his memories back up to where he was, or something like that. I have no idea. That's awesome. We're going to have to be waiting quite a while for the full version, but I hope that wet your whistle and got you interested in Head as Code. Make sure you go wishlist it. Links down below. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.